That's a lot of change.
That's a lot of change. And, you know, as hard, as easy as it is to be hard on yourself and be like, oh, you know, you're just weak, you don't have confidence. Like, I think anybody that would have, even the most confident person probably would be a little bit shaken going through what I've been through, so.
I can imagine.
And I'm not the most confident person, so imagine how I feel. But I am proud of myself. I think I can see some real growth, and, you know, whether or not anybody else can acknowledge it, I can, and it's helped me immensely, so. Yeah.
Yeah, so I wonder how you build on that, both outwardly and demonstrating, you know, your growth, but also just really sort of letting it sit on your heart for a little while.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm wondering if demonstrating it will also internalize for you a sense of accomplishment and therefore confidence.
You know, I think you mean just like naming it to myself will create confidence.
Well, you know, when we started, you talked about what you've been able to observe, but in your new work, just really being able to observe how you do and what strengths you seem to be building in that new work.
Yeah.
And observing it for yourself, I'd say, you know, I did a reasonable job here.
Yeah.
This is something I think I can build on.
Maybe it would just look like taking that idea of an exam in a sense, and just taking at the end of the work week and saying, you know, where did I see this, you know, you know, where am I proud of myself this week, or what did I do that I thought that I can be proud of? What can I continue to work on?
Yeah.
And not in a what can I continue to work on in like a shame on you way, but just like, you know, like today, what can I continue to work on? Okay, I acknowledge that I had anxiety and this was the root. Okay, so let's think about that more. I mean, not like anything's gonna happen overnight, but just to even think about it, I think would help.
Yeah, if the end of next week you were to observe the areas where you felt anxious and discovered, hey, I regulated 1% better than the other week.
The other week, yeah.
Or, you know, hey, I didn't quite do as well this week as I did the week before, but now I know, you know, what my trigger is or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, your process reflection.
Oh yeah, was that the one with my family?
Yeah.
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 Phew.
So, I mean, it felt like as you were writing it that you were observing yourself regulating
your
anxiety.
It was like
a little.
amazing, actually. Yeah. It was like really shocking. I can't remember all I told you, but it was bad. But, you know, even like when Emily, after my mom came down and she talked to Emily in front of everyone, which she always says, which is so annoying and so embarrassing. Don't know why she does it, but all of us hate it. I can't imagine any of us like to be scolded in front of our brother-in-law and sisters. Like, we're 5. But she does it anyways. So Emily, like, ran off. And, of course, at that moment, I knew, like, this is why Emily's run off. And I think old Heather would have, like, immediately gone up and followed her. But I was like, no, I don't need to. Like, I'm just going to give her space. I'm going to finish watching this movie that she recommended, which was about a woman named Emily and a man named, I can't remember, but he's from Pakistan, and they fall in love. It's called The Big Sick. It's really good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was very good. She recommended it because her name's Emily, and she's in love with a man from Pakistan. So Daniel and I watched it, and then I went up and was able to talk to her. Now, my dad had already been up there talking at her for quite some time, so. But, I don't know, and she was so emotional. I don't know if I said in the process reflection, but at one time in the conversation I told her, I said, Emily, I really am trying to be Switzerland, like, I'm hearing both of your sides, and I'm hearing, pain in both of your sides, and on a level you're both right and you're both wrong. And she was like sitting on the floor, I was laying on the bed, and she just like snapped back at me and screamed. She was like, no, you have to be on my side. I'm the one that's right. And I was like, what? Like, I just remember being like, this is insane. And I think, I would have probably engaged in that and been like, no, you're stupid. Like, just like yelled back at her. But I was just like, yeah, I can see there's a lot of emotions here, And she was like, yeah, and just acknowledging. I was like, well, okay, but yeah, that I can understand.
So you didn't react to her reaction.
It was really kind of neat just to walk away from that and be like, I probably use my CPU skills a little too much. I'm not going to do that every time I'm with you guys. I don't want you to be like, because Emily also, she's a social work major. Like, she knows all the stuff. Like, Bowen systems, she knows it. So she's not unaware. She did a genogram like a month before we did ours. But, so I don't want to do that to them all the time. But it was really helpful. And they were able to, Caroline came back and they were able to kind of reconcile, and after that it was kind of smooth sailing. And it really wasn't anything, I can acknowledge, it was nothing I did. I was just able to kind of stay out of it and complicate it less.
Be less reactive.
Yeah, be less reactive. So for me it was really good. I didn't feel swept up into it. Now, I did not want anything to do with them. Afterwards, I was like, oh my gosh, you guys are babies. And I didn't stick up for myself because they were like, can we come with you? And I said, yeah, sure, you guys can come. But, yeah, it's just really, they both called me the night of the fight and wanted me to get involved. And I was like, no, this is not something I want to get involved in. And, yeah, I mean, I think that'll be something that goes with us for a long time because it was pretty intense, and I'm sure it's going to be one of those things that are brought up later, because Emily chose some very unkind words to share with Caroline that would leave anyone with a pretty deep wound. So, as much as they were able to pick up and move on, I'm sure this one will be one that comes up. It's reoccurring.
Well, what'll be interesting is, at least I would think it would be interesting, that as you continue to engage in being part of the family, stand up for what you're, no, I'm not going to get involved in that.
Yeah.
Even if you don't articulate it,
yeah.
You just say, for yourself. And to be less reactive, to see what the response is in the rest of the family as you're being consistent.
Yeah.
Towards it.
Yeah, it really definitely is super interesting to watch and sit back and kind of just be able to observe, like, where anxiety is. And my mom is a real, like, pulls you in, wants to pull you in and get you involved in the anxiety. And I've been resisting her for a while anyways, but to continue just to do that. Even my dad, who I love, and, like, if, I think every person has a family member in their family that they look at with rose-colored glasses, and, like, he's my rose-colored glasses person. But even he, I was like, interesting how he was very much the go-between, between all the parties. Poor guy, I'm like, you're going to give yourself an ulcer, like, trying to be mediator to all these women, like, jeez.
So you think his anxiety was trying to fix it?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
He drives Daniel nuts because we'll come to Dad with a problem, and Dad will give you, like, 10 different solutions. Like, 2 of them are, like, okay, but the other 8 are just, like, ridiculous. Like, oh, you can't fit your bed upstairs? Well, what we can do is we can lift the roof off the house, and I can lower it in with the crane. And Daniel's like, what are you talking about? But he just wants to fix it and make it right for you so bad. And, like, sometimes I have to be like, Dad, it's okay. Solution number 1 was great. We'll just go with that one. Stop. We have to be like, you have to stop. You have to stop coming up with solutions. But, yeah, that's his thing. I just didn't realize how much he played mediator. It's kind of sad. I'm like, he shouldn't have to I mean, I guess if you want to do that, that's fine, but I think whether he wants to or not, he feels like he has to play that role.
Yeah, part of me would be really curious to find out, both him and your mother, you know, well, who taught him that's the role he needs to make? Was that true?
Of his dad?
If his dad, or did he take on that role in his family of origin when there was conflict? And your mother, scolding Emily, and you said that she always does that.
Awful.
I wonder where that was learned.
I don't know. Oh, I mean, actually I do know. Her family doesn't know what I'm talking about. I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it is a family battle.
Yeah, well, it's not so much scolding as like, they'll do this thing where they say something, and it's not like, a lot of people do the thing where they'll be like, oh, you're so, oh, I'm just joking. They don't do that, but they do, you'll be like sitting in conversation, and somebody, my dad and I talk about it, it's like somebody just like pulls out a dagger and like chucks it across the room, and everybody else has to sit there and pretend like that person's not profusely like bleeding out. You're like, oh, okay, well.
Are we going to talk about the murder that just
Yeah,
happened?
well, how was supper last night, and like that. It's just how their family
Oh, wow.
behaves. They just, and it'll be out of nowhere. And so, yeah, that's probably where she gets it from. I don't know. I think the scolding would fall into that. Because I can even remember growing up, my grandmother saying stuff to her like, Lynn, don't do that, to scolding her about scolding me. Like there are definitely times where I remember my nanny would scold my mother for getting on one of us about something. So she's just probably learned that from my nanny.
That would just be fascinating to...
But my dad's family of origin, I don't get to interact with them as much. We were definitely more with my mom's family. I could just ask him. He loves to talk about his family.
So what? Yeah, say I'm just curious. When you were growing up, what was conflict like handled in your family?
Well, I know he said it was never out in the open. He's told me that before. That it was behind closed doors. Which for a while growing up, that's how he and my mom fight. Like, not anymore as much since we're older, but they would go into their bedroom and fight, like not in front of, like we couldn't hear. But whatever, it was behind closed doors. So. Which, interesting.
Now, do you ever see either of those traits? Do you ever observe them in yourself and your sisters?
A little bit with Nora in terms of like scolding in front of people. So, in the sense that I want to do it, but who she is, I can't. So, I would want to scold her in front of people, but Nora is just very...
Because
like,
that feels natural?
Yeah, it feels natural to me to do that to her, but then she's so reactionary, and I can, when I do it to her, I, see her little soul get crushed, and so I'm like, I have tried to relearn to say, okay, there's, a big group of people around and Nora's doing something wrong, to just, calmly walk over to her and, pull her aside and be like, we don't do that, please stop doing that, and take her out of the situation, as opposed to just, hollering at her across the room, which that feels a lot more natural, just be like, stop that, stop doing that over there, but when I would do stuff like that, she would just look at me like, oh my god, oh, my mommy's yelling at me, and so that made me feel awful, because I was like, well, I wouldn't want Daniel to, scream at me across the room, and, yes, she's 2, yes, she's much, I mean, if my mom was in here, she would be like, oh my god, Heather, just yell at her, it's fine, you're being too much of a pansy, she's your kid, what does she know, she's 2, but yeah, definitely I feel like that, and then mediator, yes, I mediate, I think all my sisters, probably in some form, we all mediate among each other. If there's conflict, somebody always steps in kind of to just be like, okay, let's work this out together. I mean, even as much as I could have gotten a lot more into that argument, and as much as I looked to be like, oh, I wasn't really a part of it, I was, but I felt like I was using my triangle to benefit, as opposed to, cause harm. Because sometimes when my sisters and I can get into a triangle, it's like Emily and I talking about how much we think, Caroline gossiping, as opposed to like helping to bring together a party or something, and then I'll go to Caroline and we'll talk about Emily, and which I guess that's not really, it's natural. There's 3 of us, so there's always going to be some sort of triangle. But this time I felt like I was kind of able to use it to my advantage.
Well, yeah, you can use a triangle so that the other 2 can hear each other.
Yeah. Yeah, and that it was really helpful. Because Emily had no clue why Caroline was so mad. But then, yeah. Anyways.
Now, do you ever find yourself falling into those traits as you're doing ministry?
Yeah, I think I can easily be. I think of one where Becky, who's a person that wants to leave our church now that Angela's in charge, kind of wrote me, and we talked about it, I feel.
She sucked you in.
Yeah, sucked me in real quick, and I was like, oh yeah, sure. Because I think I come into it thinking, like what you would really think of a mediator as is like somebody that's trying to bring healing and reconciliation and stuff like that, but so quickly that can just turn into gossiping and talking about that other person and trying to get you on their side and trying to, get you to be against them, trying to, as opposed to like just listening to someone and saying like, okay, those are your feelings. I hear your feelings, and I'm listening to you, but those are just, let's be very clear, that's how you feel about this, not how I do. So yeah, I definitely think in work and in ministry, I think it's just human. They talk about it all the time. It's human nature to want to create triangles and form bands and the people that are relating to you. So, yeah, I think I would probably be an easier person than others to pull into triangles. But as much as we triangle in my family, we distance a lot too. Like, there was something Kitten said in the seminar on yesterday, and I was like, that's my family. I can't remember what it was though, but he said it, and I was like, that's us. How did he know? But it wasn't. It had to do with distancing. Yeah, I can't remember exactly what it was. But yeah, and my dad does that too. If he can't figure, and I think that's what happens. If we can't mediate it, we'll just, okay, bye.
Okay, no use continuing.
Yeah, no use continuing here. Like, I'm just gonna, I think that's very true of me. Like, I can't mediate it. I'll just build myself a nice little ball and move on.
Yeah. But that seems also maybe to enhance eventually the feelings of being stuck.
Yeah. Or, and like as much as you want to cut off from someone, at least in our family, like you can cut off until it happens again. Like, and then you're back where you were. So, like, it was nice that you built that brick wall, but I've got a bulldozer. Like, you forgot all of us own one, so
I'm the Hulk.
let's knock it out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There was definitely a lot of that growing up with my mom. Like, you just kind of, we couldn't appease her, like, get her to calm down. It was like, okay, well, we'll just, like, ignore it until it goes away. And it would go away in, like, a day and a half. And then, you guys be fine. And then all of a sudden it would, it comes back because you never dealt with it. And so, I think also by just ignoring it, you're also saying that behavior is okay.
You're also spreading eggshells on the floor.
Yeah, you're saying, I don't want to deal with it, so I'm just going to ignore it and just tiptoe around me, or we'll tiptoe around you, really, is what it was growing up, and just triggered it. And nobody ever said, like, you can't do that, you can't behave that way, that's not how we, this isn't what we value, this isn't what we want as a family. How can we help you, react in a better way to...
So how would you describe her temperament?
At times, volatile. She's never like a throw things kind of things, and seething. She's very seething and grudge holding. she sounds like an awful person. She's really wonderful. But when she gets mad, man, is it rough. She's passionate and loving, and it comes out in all forms. So, like, her passion and love is also translated to passion and anger, and you would apologize to her as a child. I remember, like, writing apology letters. Like, I'd be sent to my room for something I did, which, like, honestly, and it sounds so vain of me, but, like, I was a really good kid, so I don't know, like, why I ever got sent to my room, but I got grounded and sent to my room quite a bit, and, I would come down and I would apologize, and she would say, like, thank you for your apology, but I don't forgive you. Which, okay, like, I get that as an adult. But then she would, like, even after you apologize, I always thought this was very unfair. She would, like, further punish us. She would give us a silent treatment growing up. Like, she wouldn't talk to us. Like, we would ask her stuff, and she would just ignore us. She'd just be, like, really rough and, like, harsh and snippy with us when she was angry. And it was, like, it was definitely the phrase, you know, when mom's unhappy, everyone's unhappy. It was almost like when my mom was upset, and until she could get over it herself, like, the whole house was under, like, this house arrest in a way. I can remember, like, I would apologize to her, she wouldn't accept my apology, so I'd go up to my room and I'd write her a letter of apology and sneak down to her bedroom and put it on her pillow and, like, sneak back to my room, and it was really...
So, from that, you learned maybe to subjugate your own feelings?
Yeah, I'm sure that that's part of where my, like,
And
deferring to people and whatever you want, because if you ever wanted to get out of it, if you ever wanted the house to go back to normal, you just literally had to do everything that she wanted. Like, it was this big waiting game. It was awful. Oh, I hated it.
Well, I wonder if you see any parallels, because I'm just imagining it as I'm listening to this about your mother, and, you know, you're having to pull back, you're apologizing, trying to appease her, but I would suspect maybe you having a little bit of resentment.
No, yeah.
And then with the dynamic with Angela, somebody that maybe is not as volatile, but maybe somebody you're afraid could be. And I just recall the you know, a couple times ago we were talking, I spent a lot of time questioning the apologies, because you apologized twice to her. And, you know, I'm just struck by that parallel dynamic.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, I mean, and Angela is older than me.
And you have some resentment towards her.
Yeah, I have some resentment towards her. I've seen her be angry. Never at me, but at other people. And I don't want that, so, like, I never wanted my mom to be angry at me, but, you know, it would happen, because it just happens when you're a kid. Sometimes you just do stupid stuff, I guess. And, yeah.
So
so interesting.
Yeah, so Bowen would suggest that you're not going to change your mom, you're not going to change your Angela, but you can change how you respond to their behaviors.
Well, so as I got older and grew up, and things changed. I mean, Caroline really changed our dynamic, because Caroline was, like, basically a walking middle finger to my mom, like, all her teenage years. Like, she just... Everything...
That's quite the image.
Yeah, everything that Caroline was never going to apologize to her. She would just swear right in my mom's face. Like, they would just get in all-out brawls. I mean, screaming. And it did not matter who was in the house. I mean, I remember sometimes when Daniel and I were dating, and Caroline was in high school, it didn't matter that I had a guest over, and, like, it was my boyfriend. They would just scream at each other. It like, blew my mind, because I would never do that. But, so as I've gotten older and, like, been through therapy and stuff, like, something that used to get my mom so mad, and I'll still do it to her now, because it's the best response that I can give, and she'll say, "Don't you use that therapy crap on me, Heatherly." I'll say, I hear you, I hear you. And she's like, it drives her nuts. Because, I just learned in therapy to say, like, Mom's telling me all these things she doesn't like, or she's mad at me, and I don't have to take.
You think she's hoping to evoke
I think
a reaction
and she
from you?
wants me to apologize. And so sometimes I'm like, I don't want to apologize for that. So I hear you. I
So
hear
you
what you're
can-
saying.
yeah,
So I can do it with her, and we definitely do not get in as many arguments as we used to, and the only times that I kind of feel like a kid around her are when she criticizes my parenting, but even in that I can be like, well, that's how you did it, this is how we're doing it, like, sorry.
Isn't that
Yeah.
amazing?
But yeah, it's crazy. I don't know if 11-year-old Heather would have ever thought it could have gotten to this point, but maybe I can just, I don't know how that translates to Angela, but
Well, I mean, you're describing an amazing degree of growth
yeah.
in relationship to your mother over the years.
Which has really helped us, because as much as I was like describing her as this like awful kind of person, I don't see her as that person anymore. Like, I think she's totally changed. I mean, she's different now than she was
she's
before.
different because you're different.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and other things have changed in her life. I think she was depressed a lot growing up. Not that she's seeing a therapist. She's so weird. She like tells us all to go to therapy, but then refuses to go to therapy herself. She's such a weirdo, but she could really benefit from it. I think it would help her a lot. Anyways, but she's working now. She's not in a house with 3 girls all the time, so she doesn't have the walking middle finger in the house anymore.
Well,
but
we're going over time.
okay,
So,
thank you for
yeah.
meeting with me.
Yeah.
This was good. Lots of feelings. As always.
I've observed that.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy to